And, we as a tribe have been blessed to have a lot of great leaders that come before us. Be proud of what we've accomplished there, because business is not easy. My goal really is just to make my family and all my loved ones and all my tribal people proud. Just because you're from a small little tribe in northern Wisconsin doesn't mean you can't be on the big stage.
Who we are, through the smoke, through the sound, our heartbeat carries on. Stand strong, voices rise from the earth to the sky. Neshanabe, Neshanabe, Bode Wadami, Neshanabe.
You comfortable? Sometimes the chair scoots down, so if we have to take a break and kind of scoot up, we
All
can do
right.
that too. All right. Thank you for being here with us, James Crawford. Can you give us a little introduction?
Sure. I'm James Crawford. My native name given to me from our elder Jim Thunder was Bamobmi, means thunderbird that watches over and protects us. I'm basically born and raised here. I grew up going to school on Mo Lake Elementary School. Played in the Mo Lake Dome, back in the day. So, I've been here my whole life.
Nice. I didn't know that. And who are your parents and grandparents?
So my parents are James and Kathy Crawford. My grandparents were Howard Crawford and Maggie Crawford. I can remember growing up, my grandpa, he'd always come over and we'd sit around the table and play cards all night. And I just have fond memories of my grandpa and my dad and cousins and brothers all sitting around and we'd play all night long. I think his favorite game was that 500 rummy, and so we would just play that all the time. So, I miss my grandpa. He would have loved to see where we're at today. He always had big hopes for the tribe back in those days.
It's good to hear. So your dad and your grandpa were both leaders within the tribe?
Well, my uncle Art was actually secretary before and chairman, and my dad was also chairman of the tribe and chairman of the gaming commission, and I kind of followed in their footsteps as chairman and a tribal leader overall. I've been involved in all sorts of things throughout the tribe. Began as a fiscal manager, as everyone knows, and I was a walking forward directions director for a while, and was the first chairman of the board of the Potawatomi Business Development Corporation, and then basically back in 2010 started my journey as a tribal leader in an elected position, and became the vice chairman in 2010.
Yeah, that's quite the accomplishments. I do have that you motion to build the first hotel wing in the Milwaukee casino area.
Yeah, I did. We were having a meeting in Milwaukee. The council was there with the leadership of the casino at the time. And, there's always a big question there. It was kind of a thing where, some people wanted to have one and some people didn't. And I couldn't believe that we didn't have one already, and it'd been like 20 years in the business, they didn't have a hotel. And so I really thought it was something that was important for the tribe and really pressing and needed to be done. And I can remember sitting in that meeting and we were just discussing things, and I brought up the subject and I just said, hey, we need to put a hotel on this thing, and we just kind of were discussing it. And then I just kind of turned around. I asked all the tribal members that were in the room at that time, I said, if I make a motion to build this a hotel, would you guys support that? And every one of them said, yeah, we'd support that. And so I said, all right, I make that motion. And Nate Gilpin, he was on the council at that time with me, he seconded it, and the rest is history.
Nice. Now we have two towers of the hotel over at the casino.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's it has paid dividends for the tribe. Over the time where maybe things would have would have really hurt the tribe, or growing memberships, or higher costs of things. Having the hotels on has increased the tribal revenue, so that we really didn't feel effects of different things that happened in the economy.
That's great. In 2013 to 2015, you also served as a FCP council member.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, and that was an interesting kind of change from my vice chairmanship into there. And here's a little story that probably not too many people know, but when I was at the vice chair position, I really wanted us to make an aquaponics farm. I thought food sovereignty was important, and it was something that we should do. And I've never really got any movement on it. No one really wanted to, really understood it, really wanted to do it. Well, then I ended up losing that election to win vice chair again. And so during that intermediate time, I got into the budget panel and was able to get the aquaponics farm budget into the budget, and then eventually got reelected as a council member, and then we were able to eventually get our aquaponics farm going. It took another few years for it to actually happen, but once we had the right personnel there to really push that idea, we had the money waiting. So that's
That's
kind of a
awesome.
fun thing.
Yeah, it's another success within the community because it's a huge draw, and we're already adding to that today. So that's amazing. 2016 to 2022, you served as the FCP tribal secretary.
Yeah, I did. That was a big choice, and I just wanted to just do something new, something I thought that I just in my own personal way thought we could maybe improve upon some of the things that was there. And the former secretary was awesome for many years, and so it was a hard decision, to make that call to run against her, and then I ended up eventually winning. Um, but I thought it was a good spot for me and my growth, and I hope I left that position in a better place. Everywhere I've gone, I've always wanted to build on what was already there and make it better, and so that was always my goal in any position I've ever been in. Was never to come in and just maintain what was there, but whether it was something good that to build on or something bad, I always wanted to make it better. And I've always been blessed that those who have gone on before me were great builders, and always did a great job. So I always had a nice foundation to start on.
That's great. I like your visionary outlook on each of the positions that you've been in. You were elected tribal chairman February 13th of 2023. Can you tell us a little bit about your time there?
Oh yeah, being tribal chairman was not really in my game plan at that time. It just so happened the way things worked out, that opportunity came about, and I decided to go for it, and I ended up winning. And but then being the tribal chairman was really great for me, and just in my growth as a leader, as a tribal member, and um, you know I always, like I said, I always want to build on what was already there. And, we as a tribe have been blessed to have a lot of great leaders that come before us. And again, I had some solid foundation to work on, but I wanted to elevate that time beyond what had happened before. And so, there was opportunities to do that, to beginning with, the new expansion and moving into the new era of the Milwaukee Casino. We had been stagnant for a while. I felt that we really needed to push forward, become more modernized, be able to keep up with the competition, and be not just keep up with the competition, but lead the competition. And we were able to do that. We were able to find a great leader down there to help push that dream and that agenda. And as you can see now today, it's one of the best entertainment venues around. And that was just, that was a wonderful time. um, and then I had the opportunity, we had the RNC come in there. And before that, the DNC was supposed to be there. And so we had plans on doing things for the DNC. But then, it just fell through with COVID and all that. And and then the RNC was able to decided to come to Milwaukee, and I just felt that was a great opportunity for us as a tribe, and we need to really put our flag in the ground and say this is Potawatomi territory. This is who we are. We are here, and so I had an opportunity to get on the world stage and let the world know that the Potawatomi are here in Milwaukee. We haven't gone anywhere. And so I wanted to make sure that we took every opportunity, anytime anything big came through, so that we could, really elevate our tribe in every aspect that we can. And that's one of the things as a tribal leader. If you don't learn it quickly, you'll probably end up messing up pretty quick. And that is, you've got to be able to take your opportunities when they're available. And you've got to always have an eye open for both sides. When it comes to politics, people like to jump on one side or the other, but as a tribal leader, you can't do that. You've got to be able to build relationships on both sides of the aisle and on those that are right down the middle, and be able to lead the tribe. Yeah. My goal was always to look at whatever situation we were in and just say, what is the Potawatomi goal here? That's it. Not a personal goal, not anybody else's goal, not a political goal. What was the Potawatomi's goal? And in order to get to our finish line and the things that we needed to do, we have to have friends everywhere. We can't be burning bridges anywhere unless we really have to. But really reaching out on both sides of that was something that I think as a tribal leader, I learned from those before me, those chairmen that I worked with and saw. They were great at having friends on both sides of the aisle. And I wanted to not only carry that out and carry that on, but I wanted to, build off of that. And so having that opportunity, a once in a lifetime opportunity to speak on that stage was just incredible, and just personally just being able to be a part of that type of production and professionalism and just the things that go on behind the scenes was really special. And then a few weeks later, I actually went down and was involved with the DNC down in Chicago a month or so later as well. So it's about always, like I said, maintaining great relationships with both sides and taking the opportunities given to you and not backing down from them.
Thank you for sharing that with us. To talk about the bigger stage of things, February 22nd, 2024, you delivered the State of the Tribes address. And some of the things that you discussed was housing, healthcare, nutrition, and sovereignty. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Those are all very valuable, very, very, very valuable things. And they were all things that we were working on with the governor, with Republicans, with Democrats. And, there's always been this kind of undertone in those State of the Tribes that are kind of maybe harsh or getting on people. And I've always been a firm believer that in order to build on relationships, in order to grow, we've got to recognize the things that we've accomplished together. So if you listen to that speech, it really was reaching out and telling, hey, Governor, thank you for all you've done. Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Representative, or whoever it was that was doing something. I wanted to make sure that we acknowledged them for all their efforts that they helped us with, because our sovereignty is something as a tribe that we have to protect all the time. And through my experience, attacks on our sovereignty have happened from, again, both sides of the aisle. There's now one true leader on either side of the aisle that, at all times is going to be, on our side. And so making sure that we know who our friends are, making sure that we know the importance of our sovereignty and where it's being attacked, where we need to defend it, and where we need to push for it is something that, as a tribal leader, is extremely important. And so anytime I have an opportunity to speak to those things, and even in my role now that I do today, I make sure that we're protecting tribal sovereignty. A lot of people don't understand what that even means. A lot of our own tribal people don't understand what our sovereignty really is or how it came about or why it's important. They have different various ideas of what it is, but not necessarily always the right one. But then on the outside, there's people that just don't even understand why we're sovereign. And so carrying that message on why we're sovereign, how we got here, is something that I do all the time.
That's great. And you're right about that. It's important to speak about that and keep that in mind because that's why we're here and we need to keep that in mind when we're leading as leaders in the tribe. In March of 24, we had PBDC rebranded as Potawatomi Ventures. As being a leader in that realm, can you kind of tell us about the rebranding?
Yeah, I think they just wanted to have a something a little more modern. I don't know what way to say that. You'd really have to ask them. But I like the new term Potawatomi Ventures. I think it's a much better branding for the Development Corporation. And that's something that every tribal member should be proud of because our Potawatomi Ventures is a leader in Indian country. And when you're out here and you're working in the real world and you're talking to people and you know that your team is the team that everyone wants to be, it makes me proud. And so that's if there's anything I could tell our tribal members, that would be exactly that. Be proud of what we've accomplished there because business is not easy. It's not easy at all. It takes a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, a lot of failures, a lot of triumphs, a lot of ups and downs, and you work through it. You find ways for it to happen. Back in the day when I was chairman of the board, we had this vision of buying these companies and turn them into 8As and becoming 8A certified and doing all this federal government work. And it was a hard thing, and I'm proud to say that the companies that we bought are now leaders to this day in Potawatomi Ventures, in Advancia and One Prospect and all these things. It took us a long time to get to that point, to be 8A, and because it is just not an easy thing to get into. But once we were able to really crack that code, there's been no turning back. Again, our people are leaders in that area, and something that we, as all of us tribal leaders and tribal members, we should really be thankful for and proud of.
Thanks for sharing that. I think that is very important to think about how much we've diversified within the last couple of years and within 2024.
Yeah, and the thing is, when that was created, Potawatomi Business Development Corporation was first created because our leaders at that time knew that there would be a time where gaming may go away. And it was meant to be invested in and grown upon for the next 7 generations. It wasn't necessarily meant for you and I, maybe meant for us to get a job and carry on, but not to sustain our everyday life like the casino. And so that's something that, tribal members need to understand as well, is that, our goal has always been for the future of our children, our grandchildren, and their great-grandchildren. And that's what Potawatomi Ventures is. That's the foresight of down the road, what happens when gaming goes away. And right now it hasn't. Right now we're still thriving in that area. So we don't necessarily have to, hold back or be upset with them because they're not what we think they should be or whatever, but understand where they are right now is a leader in Indian country. They've done amazing things. They will continue to grow as long as we continue to support them with the understanding that the payout or the goal is for those little ones that come behind us.
So some of the things that you're talking about is expanding, and another thing that you were involved in was the sports book grand opening, and that took place May 3rd of 2024. Can you talk a little bit about that too?
Sure, yeah, that was another one of Dominic, and he was the hire that we brought on to lead this vision. And one of the things that's always been impressive with him is the amount of energy that he has had, but his vision as well. And I can remember sitting down and him sharing this vision, and we all looked at it and said, yeah, that'd be pretty cool, And then it all started to happen, and you could see it, and you'd come into this big room before when it was all just bare walls, and try to envision what it was going to be, and and he'd have this vision and tell you all about it, and you couldn't just quite picture it yet. But then when the day came and it was done, and you walked in, there's like, oh my goodness, this is pretty sweet, And so the goal there was, again, to make our facility the entertainment, uh, kings of Wisconsin. You really set the bar high for our competitors and make it a place of a great experience for those who walk through our doors. And I believe it's really made it a pretty nice even tourist attraction. Just people want to come and see that large screen. I mean, who can believe that that's one screen? And it bends around the corners like that. It's just clarity is great, and it's just a wonderful place to go and be able to watch, the Final Four or the March Madness or the Super Bowl or UFC or whatever, and really has given a lot of people who enjoy those types of things something special to come and view it at.
Yeah, absolutely. You talked about the renovation down in Milwaukee, and part of that renovation was like a temporary sports book, and then it led to the grand opening. And then in August, they opened up Rock and Brews down in, well, they have a Rock and Brews down in Milwaukee, and they've opened up one in Carter. Can you talk about that partnership that we have with Rock and Brews?
Yeah, sure. That came obviously with Gene Simmons and Kiss. And it was something that came through with part of the team that we had brought on. Dominic was able to really use his knowledge and his contacts and things to be able to, and he had gone out and really um, was just looking at what can be the next thing. What because he really felt that we needed some kind of brand that could kind of just bring us up a notch, and it ended up being Rock and Brews, and that was just another great time, be able to sit down with Gene and talk about the future of that, and I tell you a funny story. We were out at San Diego, and we're meeting with Gene and Paul, and we're sitting there, and me and Gene started getting into a little discussion about rock and roll and the history and stuff like that. And so it lasted probably about 45 minutes or an hour. We're just kind of going debating back and forth, And I can remember my wife, Jennifer, she's like, "Oh, man, yeah, I was getting embarrassed. Like, you should just stop, This is Gene Simmons. You can't talk to him that way." But I think he enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it. We had some good, banter, some back and forth and stuff. It was fun. But he was always a really uh, great guy, and just fun. When we were doing our grand opening in Milwaukee, and we were getting ready to go on to the stage, and we're behind the stage, and we're sitting in there, and the band that was going to play, uh, Gene had asked the lead guitarist, "How do you play this tune?" I forget which one it was, and she did it, and he's like, "That's how everybody does it. But that's not the right way. Here, let me show you." And so he showed her how to do it the right way. And she's like, "Oh." But that's just how Gene Simmons was, just like a very nice person, kind, and just loved to interact with people and things. So I really enjoyed the whole bringing the Rock and Brews there, and seeing it come through. I think it's another tourist attraction type thing there.
Yeah, that's amazing to hear those stories about that partnership and that relationship that was built. In August of 2024, the compact and funding agreement with the DOT was signed, joining the FCP and US DOT Tribal Self Governance Program. Can you tell us a little bit about that too?
Yeah, the self-governance program. So, that's something that I think, again, it's about sovereignty. And the self-governance program through the USDOT is exactly that. It's about sovereignty. And as a tribal leader, I wanted to take every instance, every opportunity we had to make sure that we, um, always exercise that and take control of it. And so, through that program, what it really allows is for the tribe to have more say over what we do with our funding. So, for instance, the project that happened out here in front of the reservation here, where we took down the hill and did all this road work. So that was all due to that funding, or for that compact. Because what it did is it allowed the tribe to be able to get those funds up front. and then we were able to put them into an account, and then that money gained interest over that period of time. So for probably about a year ahead of that project happening, we already had the funds from the federal government in order to do the project. So I was able to gain some interest so that when that project came, if there's any more incurred costs or whatever like that, we had those funds to be able to go into that project. And so, and not only that, but unlike the IHS self-governance or some of these other self-governance programs, those programs like the BIA will actually come in and run those programs if they're needed. But for us in this, or for the self-governance program, that is all on the tribe. There is no interference or no interaction um, with the federal government coming and saying, "Hey, you need to do this, or you need to do that." And so it really gives the tribes a better opportunity to use the funds that in the way that they see fit. And so it's been very, very valuable for our tribe, and it's something I'm proud of, being able to be the chairman who signed that compact.
Absolutely. That's a huge monument for the tribe. In October, we had the Fireside Market groundbreaking in Slinger. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure, that's another Potawatomi venture. And what they want to do is, expand our convenience stores across Wisconsin. And again, that's just another opportunity that we have to grow for the future of our next generation. And the goal was to make a more modernized, I don't know about modernized, but maybe a step up. I guess modernized too, because they want to have some of the electrical availabilities to for Teslas or whatever, and but also have a better food service, healthier foods, and more a little bit further away from just that convenience store type food, And so I think it's a nice vision, and it's something that hopefully will turn out to be a great investment down the road. But there's a lot of time down the road, and I know there's goals to expand and continue to do more. So I wish them the best on that.
So 2024 was full of different expansions and groundbreakings and everything. But in July of 2025, you were sworn in as the Assistant Secretary of Native Government Affairs with the U.S. Department of Transportation.
Yeah, that was something that was never ever on my radar to ever be. I never had any desire to, leave the comforts of the North Woods and go to D.C. But again, I saw an opportunity, and like I always tell my kids, you're given opportunities, and you have to choose to take them or not take them. And for me, and when I sat down with the family and talked to them, and it was like, hey, this is really a once in a lifetime opportunity. This little Indian boy running around on a Mo Lake Res was never planning on going out to to DC, but yet here we are. We have this opportunity, and I looked at it as an opportunity because in my heart, I'm a tribal leader, and that's really all I've wanted to be or ever been, and I haven't really done anything else. And so, have an opportunity to do something different, but yet still, in essence, be a tribal leader, but only now instead of one tribe, my own tribe, now it's 575 tribes across the United States. And so it's been a very big blessing for me to be able to do that. And, just being out there and seeing the differences, it really is eye opening. And I've just been blessed to be, all over the United States already, just meeting with tribes and, doing the things that, um, and finding ways to help them succeed in whatever it is they're trying to succeed at. And really that's my goal. I look at things through the lens of a tribal leader, not a career politician or this or that. So when I go out and see people, I try to always make sure that they understand that I'm a voice in Indian country in Washington, D.C. When I'm sitting around that table with those higher ups and we're discussing things, I make sure that our voice is heard, and that and that the needs are at least spoken of. And so, and now I've been working on, different things there, in the highway reauthorization bill that's coming up. trying to get more things done from meeting with tribes, around the United States to hopefully help them succeed in things that they're trying to do. Yeah, it's a big challenge. It's a big world. It's just learning all the ins and outs and how everything works. Like they say, you're drinking from a fire hose at first, and truly, I was and probably still am to an extent, but I've been slowly getting my feet underneath me. I'm understanding better more of what my job is, and getting hopefully better at it every day. Um, and I think I'm looking forward to continually fight for Native Americans and all of our tribal people across the United States, and hopefully get us in a better place. Again, like I always said, I go into places not just to be there. I want to build upon what was there and make it better. And so I've gone in with that same mindset in this position, and I'm hoping, you know, uh, uh, God blesses me to be able to succeed at that. Again, I've been blessed with having a great team there to help me. But certainly, I'm only the second assistant secretary of tribal government affairs in this position. Because this program was started actually underneath the first Trump administration, and then the first assistant secretary appointed was underneath the Biden administration, and now I'm like I said, the second one to be appointed. So it's still relatively a new program, and so I felt like whenever I heard about that, when I was making my decision to take on this role, I saw an opportunity to still shape and mold something into what Indian country needs it to be. And, because some of this other things, we talk about BIA or whatever, they've been around forever. It's going to be hard to reshape that for, the BIA or any other big program out there. But this, because it's brand new, I felt like there was an opportunity to do something, kind of from the ground up and mold something in the best way I could really help our Native Americans.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that your time as secretary, assistant secretary. Some of the awards that you were awarded in 2023 was named one of Wisconsin's most influential Native American leaders, according to Madison 362. Can you tell me about how you felt when you received that award? And
Yeah, all those accolades like that is what makes them special is that they were never sought after. It was just like, oh, here, let me think this of you, and it's like, oh, well, that's nice, and it's because you don't oftentimes have people pat you on the back and when you're a tribal leader and tell you, hey, great job, but when even outside people see the work that you're doing, and kind of reaffirms that you have a good reputation, you have a leadership capability that they see. It just gives you that extra energy and that oomph to fight through, the difficulties of being a leader at times. But just sometimes it's fuel that you need when you get stuff like that. You don't even know you need it. And again, whenever you weren't seeking it, and it just kind of showed up one day on your door. It does make it special.
that's amazing. In 2024, you were named one of Wisconsin's most influential business leaders, according to Biz Times Media as well.
Yeah, that's something again, that wasn't necessarily sought after. Just you have you get an award that because the outside people have recognized something of value there, some accomplishments there, and that is coming after uh, you know um, being on the public figure, speaking, like you said um, at RNC or at the tribal State of the Tribes address, and having a big expansion that went well in Milwaukee, and so when people see that and they recognize that there's leadership there that helps those things along, and you get recognized for it, it's another one of those things that just helps, kind of recharge you and fuel you, and keep you going.
Yeah. Awesome. So one of the things you brought up when you were making the decision about your current position was, what did you have the backing from your family? So that's one huge thing. I know you have a really good support team, and your family's got your back. And you kind of talked about it during the State of the Tribe's address of being a foster parent. And that's pretty rare within our community. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit, and how much that means to you, your family, and our community?
Yeah, I'm a that was one of the hardest things for me, in making this decision, is because I knew it was going to take me away from, my family a lot more. Being a tribal leader, I was gone a lot already, um, and really spent a lot of time on the road, for our people. But this was a different aspect, because I knew I wasn't going to be coming home every weekend. And I might have been gone for the week, but I'd come home for the weekends at least, as a tribal leader for the most part. But now, I have to be in DC, as much as possible, and so it keeps me away, for a while. But I knew that was going to be the sacrifice, but it wasn't going to be, my own sacrifice. It was going to be all of us. And so, I had, you know, um, when I decided I was going to go down this route, I kind of just, just kept it to myself. I didn't want to say anything, and then just be like, "Oh yeah, I didn't get the chance," and they thought I was horrible and didn't want me or nothing. But then whenever went through the interview process and I was offered the position, I was like, "Oh man, I gotta actually really think about this now." And I hadn't said anything to anybody except for my wife. And so then I sat down grabbed all the kids, brought them all in, and we sat around, and I just told them what was going on. And, um, I think everyone was pretty much, "Yeah, Dad, we think you should do that," except for one. And that was my oldest, Dylan. He was like, "No, Dad, you shouldn't do it. Just stay here." And, that was good to hear that, he still wanted the old man around. Um, but, I knew it was going to be hard because, I'm very, very close with all my grandbabies and everything. And so, but I also saw an opportunity again, to do something special, and, hopefully make them all proud of what I'm doing, and things. And so, like today, I came back from Washington D.C. to be up here, and getting off the airplane, and I had three of my grandkids there, and they saw me, "Papa," they come running and jump in my arms. Man, that's the greatest feeling, and that really gives me energy and keeps me going. Uh, but yeah, all the kids, our fosters kids, the ones I call them our adopted kids, because that's what they are. They're mine, and they were all in support for the most part of me taking on this role. And so it's also been an opportunity for them. I can bring them down there and um, expand their view of life a little bit and see DC. So it's hopefully going to be, in the end, a great adventure for all of us.
Yeah, I definitely think it will be, because I mean, seeing you in that leadership role is impactful for your family and the tribe. One other question that I have is, who was your role model? Who was a leader that you looked up to that helped you through your leadership roles?
I don't think I could name anybody other than my dad. My dad was always a great leader. He always put his family first. He always put the tribe uh, first. He was always a person who wanted to um, build the tribe into something more as well. Um, and so yeah, it really began really with just looking at him and his life. As he was a foster child as well, and was able to. As we grew up, became a foster parent himself, and so as you can see in myself and even my one of my brothers, we've done that, taken on that same role, and to do those things, and just he was always that person that I guess he just made me who I am today. If he was the guy who came home after work and two shifts at the paper mill or something, and come out the yard, throw the ball around with you, or wrestle around with you, or whatever, you know. And anybody knows me with my grandkids or any of my kids, that's how I was, you know. But that all came from my dad. And then again, you know, when you get into just working within the tribe, he was always active in the tribe, always wanted to be a part of things. You go back to a lot of stuff that happened throughout the tribe, and you'll see his name in there. And you know, and I just wanted to carry. I don't know if it was really in my head that I really wanted to carry that on. You know, I was just always proud of that, but I just kind of ended up where I was, where I am, I should say, just by opportunities that are given to me in life. I can't say I actually had a plan on anything. It's just opportunity was presented, I did it, and then another opportunity was presented, and I did it, and that's how I got here. I always tell people, you know, I'm an inherently shy person. I don't like to, you know, be in the public eye or talk or anything, and so me doing these things that I do is exactly the opposite of who I am. So I think it's pretty amazing how God works in our life to bring us to places where we never thought we would be.
Yeah, I would have not gotten that from you at all. You're such a good public speaker, and then doing podcasts and any other thing, you're very well spoken. Um, do you have any other words of wisdom for our youth or any leaders within our tribe?
Well, for youth, I would say, you know, continue to take your opportunities where you see them. Find a goal to work towards and work towards it. Don't let anything get in your way of succeeding in it. Always surround yourself with people who are going to help you succeed in what you're going to do. I mean, if you want to be the greatest basketball player ever, then you better surround yourself with people who play basketball. But that's the way it is in anything in life. If you want to be good at something, surround yourself with good people, because one of the things I've learned is, you know, I don't know everything. Um, and and I've been successful because I've been able. Probably one of my skills or gifts I've been given is being able to build teams, get good people around me to help me succeed, and then being able to not only take their advice but discern, um, you know, the what needs what needs to be understood, being able to do the research or wherever it is. So you know, I would encourage all of our kids, you know, do the research of whatever it is you're going to be in. Understand to your best of your ability. Surround yourself with people who will help you succeed in those things. And if there's people that um, aren't going to help you to succeed at life, um, you know, it could be family members or friends or whatever. If they're not going to help you succeed at life, then you might want to find new friends, a new surrounding. Um, you know, and so I would encourage, you know, all of our youth in those ways, you know, and never think you know everything. Um, even if you know you're the smartest person in the room, never truly take that to heart, because there's going to be something you're going to learn from. Always listen to everybody. Pay attention to our tribal leaders. I would say you got to put yourself aside. A lot of times, your own wants, your own needs, your own beliefs, or you know, whether it becomes a politics or whatever, just have to be forgotten in a meeting, forgotten with whatever person you're sitting down with, whether it be in the Madison or in the federal government or whatever it is, and understand that not everybody is your friend and not everybody is your enemy. It's your job to discern who is who, and don't go in with any you know, pretenses on what you think somebody is just because of the letter they have in front of their name. There are a lot of good people out there on both sides of the aisle that are for Indian people, and there's a lot of people on both sides of the aisle who don't really care. But we gotta, as leaders, we gotta understand, you know, what is the Potawatomi agenda? What do we want to accomplish? And just focus on that. That's your goal. Everything else gets set aside. And sometimes that even comes down to our own inner tribal politics. You know, family members or friends or whatever that want something that may not necessarily be in the best interest of the tribe as a whole. And so we're getting back to that focal point of what is best for the tribe and be able to make those decisions regardless of who's going to yell at you or not vote for you. And that's a hard thing to do. You got to get a tough skin. You got to be able to not be afraid of making an unpopular choice. We all like accolades. We all like to get trophies and things like that. But as a tribal leader, you got to get used to not getting those things. That's why we talked about those couple of awards I got. Yeah, it makes you feel pretty good, when someone finally recognizes that, you're doing something good. But that don't come around a lot as a tribal leader. You'll find out real fast what people really think about you. But don't let that stuff get to you. For me, it's always really just been in general the overall love I have for my people that really got me through it all, and then just doing the things that I'm doing, and even to where I'm at now. Overall, my goal is to do something great for all of us. To be a leader for our people. I'm proud to say that I'm the first tribal Potawatomi tribal member, Forest County Potawatomi, to be appointed to a position in Washington, D.C. I think that's something, regardless of anybody else can be proud of it, I'm going to be proud of it, because it's, I'm hoping that kids will be able to see that and say, you know what, it doesn't matter if, I grew up on the, going to elementary school on the Mole Lake Reservation, or grew up in Crandon and Stone Lake, or we can be more than what we can even imagine if we just, for me, letting God lead me in my life and give me the opportunities that were out there and taking them and believing in yourself. That's another thing I would tell our youth and our tribal leaders: believe in yourself, believe in, if you're doing the work, if you're putting in the time, if you understand, you're reading the paperwork, you're educating yourself, you're surrounding yourself with good people, then be strong with your decision, stick with it, whether it was right or wrong. I made plenty of bad decisions too, or had to learn from things that I thought was the right decision at the time and ended up not being. You're never going to make every right decision. There's going to be times where you truly fail, but pick yourself up and keep going. And kids, that's the way life is. It's a up and down roller coaster ride of triumphs and failures, and never letting the triumphs take you to a position where you're just too good for everyone, or never letting the failures take you too far to where you don't even want to try anymore. Always keep going, keep your eyes focused on the goal. As tribal leaders, it's just so important to keep the love in your heart for all your people, even the ones who don't necessarily say nice things about you. You still gotta love them enough to do the best job that you can. That's just kind of the way I was built, the way I've always tried to be, and the way I'll always try to be. And our future in our youth is something that has to be built upon. We have a lot of kids now that are going away to school, getting a good education and things like that. But now they've got to switch from that to being leaders at one day. And that educational piece is great, but when life comes, life will teach you far more. But you got to let it teach you as well. Don't ever think you have so much knowledge from all these books that you just know everything. Get out there, get in the real world, and do some things, and understand just because you're from a small little tribe in northern Wisconsin doesn't mean you can't be on the big stage. And I hope that I've proven that to our tribal kids, to our tribal people, that we can be more. And that's really what I wanted to accomplish, whether I was speaking at the State of the Tribes or RNC, or sitting as the Assistant Secretary of the Department of Transportation. So I just want to, my goal really is just to make my family and all my loved ones and all my tribal people proud. That's just my goal.
You definitely do make us proud.
Thanks.
We went through a lot of stuff about your career and history and stuff. Is there anything else that you want to discuss or bring up?
Anything else I want to discuss and bring up? Mm, I just, I think the only thing I'd like to say is that, again, I just want to thank all those who have gone before me. I go back and I look at, when I grew up, and, we were, um, we were poor, you know, all of us were. I can remember sitting up at up by the old tribal hall before it was there in the old white building there, and sitting on the floor during Christmas, and the tribe gave us all, Christmas gifts. And all we got was just like a little Matchbox car. But man, that was pretty cool. We enjoyed that. It was just something special. Um, and then I can remember standing up there at the food distribution building and just waiting in line for our commods. Could be hot out, could be freezing out. It didn't matter. You went through, and how exciting it was though to get those commods, be able to finally have some some food uh, that you didn't have before, obviously. And I can remember all those days, and I just think about where we were then, and what we wanted to what our leaders before us wanted to accomplish. You know, I can remember when the tornado came through, and they called it Tornado Alley out here. Everybody was wiped out, and there's all this, these troubles. And then, we wanted, or I say we, but I was just a child then. But our leaders wanted better housing, wanted better health care, because we had no health care. Wanted better, wanted the ability for our families to really buy food, that the government didn't give us. And I can remember as fiscal manager, uh, probably one of the proudest moments I had in my life as working for the tribe, and coming in to the council and telling the council, um, guys, we don't qualify for food distribution anymore. We're going to need to actually shut down our program and turn that building into something else. And it was like, I don't think any of us really um, thought that was going to happen, or thought that was going to happen that fast. Because that was just an amazing time, because it was just showed the growth of everything that we did, was everything that our leaders before us did was coming into fruition. you know. And then I can remember even building the new our health and wellness center back in those days. We didn't have any money. We didn't have any understanding of loans and insurances and things like that. And what was really tough back then was they didn't have any understanding really of even how to work with us, because tribes never had any money before, so banks didn't loan to us. How do you loan to a tribe that has land that can't be collateralized? We're on trust lands, and so it was very difficult. So I would have to fly to Minneapolis and meet with a group over there to and raise bonds and funding for that project that was outside of really your normal your banking institutions, because no one knew how to work with us yet. And so we raised about $10 million in bond funding for building that facility. And but yeah, and I would have to fly over to Minneapolis and sit down with these people and discuss this stuff. And I didn't have a clue what was going on. Pretty much, I was just learning as much as I could possibly learn, and reading things that I didn't quite understand, but I figured out, and just being able to, having to talk with these professionals and things that it was completely out of my wheelhouse, and just being thrown kind of into the fire to do those things. It was exciting, fun, scary time. But in the end, it all worked out. Now we got this beautiful health center that is even more than what it was whenever we first built it. But yeah, there was, and I guess for me, it's been a real blessing to really be, a part of almost every stage that the tribe has come through, and being a leader in almost every stage as well, in some, fashion. Um, uh, I would, uh, I can remember going down and just, going down on the road to just look at different areas and how to, you know, um, build that health facility, and seeing the work that other people did that were putting in bids to build the health facility. I'd go down and see the work they did, and it was just fun, exciting times because it was all new. It was scary times because it was all new. Like I said, no one knew how to work with us. We didn't know how to work with anybody else either. We didn't have like today where we got, all these lawyers with professionals. We didn't have not any of that at that time. It was just the council and me a lot of times, Um, and there was a lot of good times. I can remember going with the council, and whenever we would be in the compact negotiations back in the day, to keep our doors open down there and just sitting there and um, just kind of taking it all in and having to, come up with numbers and tell them this or that. And we'd go and speak to this group of people in Milwaukee, and then we'd have to go and talk to this group of people in Milwaukee, and because they were all wanting a piece of the pie, and we're negotiating percentages and all this, and how we're gonna, get this done, and there's always factions even in other governments, so you got, and so meeting with all those different factions, making them all happy, and spending just weeks at times on the road. Even back then, you'd be on the road for, you know, Sunday through Friday. But that's what our council did. All those leaders before us and the leaders before them, um, they they did those things. They were out there working hard. A lot of people don't understand today all the hard work that went in to get into where we are today. Um, all the sacrifices that were made for our tribal leaders to be away from their families, to be on the road, to be sleeping night after night in a different bed that's not your own, and just late nights, early mornings. A lot of time was put in. And so we should all be thankful for those who gone before us and did those things. And thankful and respectful and generally um, wanting to build upon that. And that's where I was as a chairman. I wanted to build on all that because I saw that everything they did. And for a lot of it, I was there with them. And so I wanted to make sure that I elevated, the role of chairman in a way that was never elevated before. And so hopefully those that come behind me will want to do that same thing and continue to push the tribe forward. Hopefully we have a general council that is willing to listen to their leadership and follow them, because that's really how we got to where we are today. Is we had a general membership that overall followed the leadership, and that helped us become who we are today. When we all work together, and you're never going to get 100%, but when the majority of the people can see that the leadership knows what they're doing, is putting in the work, and they need to make sure they are too. Know what they're doing, putting in the work, sacrificing, making the sacrifices they need to make. And when they can do that, then they hopefully will gain the respect of those they lead, and lead us all down a good road.
Thank you. Thank you for all of that. I mean, that was really good history. I think you're right. A lot of people don't know our origin and where we came from and how rough it was back in the day and where we are right now. It was really good to see that perspective. Thanks for coming on and being with us and sharing your wisdom and knowledge. Is there anything else?
No, I don't think so. I probably took up most of your day already. So, I could go on to many, many stories, but I probably should not do that. But I appreciate everything. Thanks for having me, and hopefully you can find a few things to use.
Oh, yeah, we'll use it all. Well, hopefully we can have you back again sometime.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Cut.
From the fire from the drum. We remember who we are. Through the smoke, through the sound, our heartbeat carries on. Stand strong, voices rise from the earth to the sky. Neshanabe, Neshanabe, Bode Wadami, Neshanabe.